My wife betrayed me with her boss right in front of me, and revenge tasted better than love. I was standing there in the corner of that overly polished corporate holiday party, nursing a glass of bad red wine, when I saw my wife of 30 years slip into a side office with her boss. Through the crack in the door, I saw either hands on his chest, his lips on her neck, their bodies pressed together like reckless teenagers. The glass in my hand almost shattered. 30 years of marriage, 2 daughters, Olivia, grown and living on her own, and Grace, just 12, back home with a babysitter, and Vanessa was throwing it all away in the blink of an eye. My name is Frank Delaney, 55 years old. Retired early from the Air Force after a service-related back injury left me grounded for good. I now work with my hand restoring old houses in our quiet corner of western North Carolina, where everybody knows everybody's business, or at least they think they do. What they didn't know was that my picture-perfect marriage just imploded at Morgan Bell Construction's annual Christmas party. "You okay, Frank? You look like you saw a ghost," said Dennis, one of Vanessa's coworkers, clapping me on the shoulder. I forced a half smile, my jaw so tight I could feel it pop. "Just not feeling great," I muttered. "Might head out early." "Vanessa said you two were staying till the end." Of course she did, because Vanessa had plans tonight that didn't involve her husband going home early. "Changed my mind," I said, and downed the last of my wine. Years ago, back when I was younger, stronger, angrier, I might have kicked that door open and dragged Chase Morgan, the Golden Boy CEO, out by his designer tie and reminded him what real men look like. My body actually twitched to do it before my brain caught up. But I've got more to lose now. Grace, my youngest, still needs her dad, and I've already had one assault charge in my wild days-close call that nearly landed me in prison before the military straightened me out. Violence would cost me everything, and it was clear I'd already lost Vanessa. So I walked out, grabbed my coat, stepped into the biting December wind and drove home in silence, the steering wheel slick with sweat from my hands. The Christmas lights lining our street twinkled mockingly as I pulled into the driveway. "Mr. Delaney," called Tina, the high schooler who babysits for us. "You're early. Grace is already asleep." I paid her extra and sent her home. I nodded, thanked her, and went inside. Then I sat there in the dark, just me, the ticking clock, and the weight of betrayal. Around me were wedding photos, drawings from Grace when she was in first grade, an anniversary card Olivia had sent us 2 years ago. And I waited. 3 hours later, Vanessa came home. She was humming. Actually humming as she hung up her coat, like she hadn't just detonated our life. "Frank," she called out, flipping on the light. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" I saw her then, lipstick slightly smudged, hair tousled, her blouse buttoned wrong. "Headache," I said flatly. "Did the party end early?" "No, it was still going when I left. I told you not to wait up." She wasn't even trying. "Well, Chase needed help organizing some project folders for the Calhoun account. You know how important that is." "Chase, huh? Not Mr. Morgan anymore." Something flickered in her expression, fear, guilt, but she caught herself and smiled. "We've all been working so closely lately. First name basis and all that." I could have said it. I could have told her what I saw, but something inside me shifted. Not rage, not hurt, just stillness. A strange calm I hadn't felt in years, the kind that comes right before a storm. "I'm going to bed," was all I said. That night, I lay next to the woman I'd loved for 3 decades. I didn't sleep. I planned. The next morning, I was in my shop before the sun came up. My garage detached. Quiet. My place. After I retired, I converted it into a full workshop. I'd always loved working with my hands. There was a peace in sanding down old wood, restoring beauty where others only saw rot. Not today. Today, every brushstroke was fuel, every nail a reason. "Daddy, what are you making?" came a soft voice from the door. Grace. My youngest, 12 going on 30, bright as a button, with her mother's smile back when that smile was real. "Hey, sweetheart," I said, turning with a smile that felt heavy on my face. "Just working on some ideas." I set my pencil down. I'd been sketching blueprints for an old Queen Anne Victorian I'd been thinking of bidding on. Not for a client, just for me. "Can I help?" She was already reaching for her little work apron, the one I made her last Christmas. "Always." I lifted her up onto the bench. She grinned, eyes bright, and picked up the sanding block like a pro. And as she worked, tongue sticking out in concentration, I made a silent promise. Vanessa may have chosen chaos, but I was going to answer with clarity. And fire. I lifted Grace onto the edge of my workbench. "Want to help me sand this piece?" I asked. She nodded enthusiastically, already grabbing the sanding block with both hands. Her tongue poked out of the side of her mouth in concentration as she worked a trait she'd had since kindergarten. And while she worked, I thought about Vanessa, about Chase, and about what the hell I was going to do next. An hour later, Vanessa appeared in the doorway, coffee mug in hand, in full Sunday makeup and a fitted dress I didn't recognize. "There you two are," she said with forced cheer. "Grace, breakfast is ready." "5 more minutes, Mom," Grace chirped. "I'm helping Daddy." Vanessa sighed. "Frank, she's getting sawdust all over her pajamas." "She's fine, Vanessa. We're bonding." She exhaled through her nose. "We'll bond over breakfast. We're meeting my parents at 11, remember?" Damn, I'd forgotten. Sunday brunch with the in-laws. The idea of sitting across from her father, the same man who once told me I'd never be enough for his daughter, pretending everything was normal while his little princess snuck around with her boss, made my stomach turn. "You go ahead," I said. "Tell them I'm finishing up an emergency job." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "On a Sunday? What emergency?" "The Calhoun house," I said, tossing her lie back in her lap. "You know how important that account is." She flinched, just slightly. Not enough for Grace to notice, but I caught it. "Fine," she muttered. "Come on, Grace." After they left, I got to work, just not with wood. First call went to Oliver Grant, my longtime friend and the only banker I trust. Then I rang Nathan Keyes, a local realtor I'd done custom cabinetry work for last year. By noon, I had an appointment to view a rundown property on the far end of town. Something had clicked in my head, something stubborn, strategic, and quiet. I wasn't going to blow up. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to build. I needed a base of operations, a place of my own. When Oliver picked up, I didn't waste time. "Hey, man, I need to talk business." "On a Sunday?" he chuckled. "This sounds serious." "Dead serious," I said. "I need to set up a separate account. Might also need a small business loan. Thinking about expansion." "Finally going out on your own? About damn time. Vanessa on board with this?" I paused. This is my project. She's got her own priorities these days. Oliver caught the tone. He didn't press. "Carson's Diner. Tomorrow morning before work," he said. "You bring the coffee. I'll bring the forms." That night, while Vanessa was upstairs bathing Grace, I stepped into the home office. Her phone was charging on the desk. For a second, my hand hovered over it. I could have opened it, found texts from Chase, pictures, maybe even worse. But I didn't need more proof. I already knew. Instead, I turned to the Riverside files she sometimes brought home in her tote bag. She used to leave them scattered carelessly. Now they were stacked perfectly, almost like she didn't want me touching them. But I did. And what I found only confirmed what I already suspected. Duplicate invoices. One for the client, listing premium grade materials. One for the supplier, showing bottom-tier junk. Permits with forged dates. Inspections all signed off by the same name, Alan Reeves. I took photos of every sheet with my phone, then returned everything exactly where I'd found it. Knowledge is power. And I was done being powerless. The house was a wreck, a Victorian relic with buckled floors and faded trim, sitting lonely at the edge of town. The porch was rotted, windows cracked, paint curling like dead skin, But I didn't see rot. I saw potential. I saw my out. "You sure about this, Frank?" Nathan asked as we stood in what used to be a formal parlor. "This place needs everything." "Exactly why I want it," I said, running a hand along what remained of the original crown molding. "Good bones, history, character, and most importantly, no one else wants it." He chuckled. "The price is right, I'll give you that. Bank practically wants to pay someone to take it off their hands." By the end of that week, I'd secured the loan and bought the place. Delaney Restoration I wasn't just dreaming it anymore. It was happening. When I told Vanessa over dinner, she looked like she'd been slapped. "You did what?" she snapped, slamming her fork down on the edge of her plate. "Bought the old Buckner house. We can barely cover this mortgage, and you bought another property without even talking to me?" "It's an investment," I said, calm. "I'm going to restore it and flip it." "With what time? You're already working 60 hours a week." "I'll manage," I said, sipping my coffee. "Besides, I figured you'd be happy having me out of your hair more often." Her eyes narrowed to slits. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said flatly. You've been working a lot of late nights lately yourself. How's the Calhoun project? Chase still needing all that private help?" The color drained from her face. Subtle, but unmistakable. "I don't know what you're implying," she said, voice rising, "but I don't like your tone. And I sure as hell don't like coming second to your ego." She stood suddenly, slapping her hand against the countertop. "This is what it's about, isn't it? You can't stand that I have a career, that someone finally respects what I do. You're jealous." I didn't say anything. I just watched her, quiet, steady. Because I wasn't jealous. I was done pretending. I'm building a career while you're still hammering nails for a living. Vanessa's words hung in the air like a slap. It stung. Of course it did. But I didn't flinch. "If that's what you think this is about," I said calmly, "then you don't know me at all." "Maybe I don't," she snapped. "Maybe I never did." That was the end of the argument, but something had cracked wide open between us. The polite mask we both wore for Grace's sake choreographed conversations. The empty smiles started to slip. And in a strange way, it was a relief. That night, after Vanessa went to bed, I stepped outside onto the back porch and made a call I hadn't thought I ever would. The name on my phone, Scott Berengerin, old high school buddy who now worked in the state attorney general's office, white-collar crime division. He picked up on the second ring. "Frank Delaney, as I live and breathe. Must be, 5 years since we last talked?" "Closer to 10, I admitted. "How's the family?" "Growing. Third kid on the way. You still with Vanessa?" I hesitated. "For now." He didn't push. "What's up, man? I need some advice. Hypothetically speaking." Scott chuckled. "Oh, those are the best kinds of calls. Hit me." If someone like me came across clear evidence of construction fraud, things like fake permits, substituted materials, forged invoices, how would they go about reporting that? Scott didn't answer immediately. "Let me guess. This someone works with or near Morgan Bell Construction?" I sat up straight. "How do you know that?" "We've had complaints before. Nothing that's stuck. Chase Morgan's careful. Slick. He's got people in the county offices watching his back. But if someone had documentation real, verifiable stuff, they should gather it. Quietly. Don't break any laws. Don't tip anyone off. And whatever they do, don't take it to the local authorities. You bring it straight to me. Directly." "I understand," I said. And I did. Perfectly. "Frank," his voice dropped. "Whatever you're mixed up in, be careful. Chase Morgan isn't some local amateur." "I'm not going after him lightly," I said. "I'm going to dismantle him, piece by piece. And he won't even see it coming." I threw myself into the restoration of the Victorian. Every night after my regular jobs, every weekend, I was there. Vanessa stopped asking where I went. She was too busy working late. I didn't ask. We were both living lives apart now, and only Grace connected us anymore. Oliver helped me set up a separate business account. Nathan handled the property title work. I started printing up designs under a new name, Delaney Restoration. It was just a name, but it felt like oxygen in a world that had been strangling me. My buddy Liam Greer, a plumber I'd known since my Air Force days, came by one Saturday to help rip out the rusted cast iron tub in the back bathroom. "You're really going all in on this, huh?" he said, wiping sweat off his forehead. "It's either this," I said, prying a pipe loose, "or I go crazy." "Trouble at home?" he asked. He wasn't being nosy. He was just a good man who knew what silence really sounded like. I paused, then told him what I saw at the Christmas party. Vanessa, Chase, that closed office door, the kissing, the lies. "That son of a," Liam growled, dropping the pipe wrench with a clang. "You want me to help you break his knees?" I laughed, really laughed. The first time in weeks. "Tempting," I said. "But no, I've got something better." "Oh yeah, what?" "Living well," I told him, "and maybe a little karma on the side." What I didn't tell Liam was what I was collecting. Paper trails, witnesses, records, testimonies. Every contractor who'd ever worked for Morgan Bell had a story, and some of them had receipts to back it up. Hell, some kept them as leverage in case they ever needed to save their own skin. I was building two things at once, a business and a case. Both required patience, precision, and a mean streak of strategic planning. While Chase Morgan strutted around in his tailored suits and drove company cars to fancy lunches, I was sanding window trim by hand, fixing foundation beams, and sleeping on a folding cot in that dusty old Victorian. 16-hour days, no weekends, no shortcuts. But every hinge I oiled, every invoice I copied, brought me one step closer to the life I wanted and to the reckoning he didn't see coming. Back home, the atmosphere had gone cold. We shared meals with Grace when we could. We made the motions of a family, but the glue had dried up and cracked apart. Vanessa's lies got bolder. "It's a 3-day team-building conference in Atlanta," she told me one Thursday night while packing a small suitcase. "Chase says it's crucial for the Calhoun project." I didn't even look up from the plans I was sketching at the kitchen table. "I'm sure it is," I said. She zipped her bag. "What's that supposed to mean?" I met her eyes, my expression neutral. "Nothing. Just be sure to tell your boss I said hi. Polite thing to do." Her fingers froze on the zipper. Then she yanked it shut like she was trying to break the teeth. "I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but I don't like it." Vanessa stood in the doorway, suitcase at her feet, perfectly manicured hand on her hip. I shrugged. "Funny. I was thinking the same thing about you." She didn't reply, just rolled her eyes and left. After the door closed behind her, I walked into the living room where Grace sat on the floor drawing superheroes on a sheet of printer paper. "Mommy's got a work trip," I said gently, sitting down beside her. "So it's just us this weekend. You up for a daddy-daughter adventure?" Her eyes lit up. "Can we camp in the old house?" She meant the Victorian. I'd taken her there a few times, always supervised. She loved the idea of fixing up something nobody else wanted. "Not for sleeping, Pumpkin," I said, "but we can work on it tomorrow after school. You and me." She grinned. "Deal." That night, after she went to bed, I sat alone in my office and made one more call. I'd gotten the number from an old HVAC contractor who owed me a favor. The name, Alan Reeves, the safety inspector whose signature kept popping up on every Morgan Bell construction permit. The phone rang 4 times. "Hello?" "Mr. Reeves," I said. "My name is Frank Delaney. I'm a contractor in the area." "Delaney, don't think I know you." "No reason you should, but I know you. Specifically, I know about your work with Chase Morgan's outfit." Silence. Then a cautious tone. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do. I have copies of inspection forms with your signature on projects that used cheap materials but were billed as premium. You pass jobs that wouldn't survive a strong wind, Alan. I've got the paperwork. His voice sharpened. Is this some kind of shakedown? 'Cause if it is, I don't want your money, I interrupted. I want information. I'm hanging up. Before you do, you should know I'm not the only one with these copies. If anything happens to me, they go straight to the State Attorney General's office. More silence, longer this time. Then, what do you want? Everything. Who else is involved? How long it's been going on? And how deep Morgan's operation runs. Why should I tell you anything? Because I'm giving you a chance to come out clean before the whole thing implodes, I said. When not if this falls apart, the first person who talks usually gets the best deal. Reeves exhaled. Deep. Worn out. Carson's Diner. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. Come alone. He was already there when I arrived, nursing a cup of black coffee like it was medicine. He looked older than I expected, late 50s maybe. Tired. Like a man who carried 15 years of secrets on his shoulders. As I slid into the booth, he didn't even say hello. I've been doing this too long, he said. Not just for Morgan Bell, there were others. It started small: overlook, a missed fire escape, bump a deadline. Nothing big. Then Chase showed up, and things got worse. To outright fraud? I asked. He nodded miserably. Morgan's the worst I've seen. Corner-cutting king, pushes everyone past the line. And my wife, I said, watching him carefully. Vanessa Delaney. She works for Morgan. His eyebrows lifted in recognition. Your wife handles the documents, right? Submissions, contractor forms, bid files? I nodded. Then yeah, she knows. Maybe not everything, but enough. Chase doesn't keep people around who won't play along. The confirmation hit me hard, even though I already knew. Vanessa wasn't just cheating on me with Chase. She was helping him commit crimes. What changed your mind? I asked. Why are you willing to talk now? He stared into his mug. My grandson just bought a house. First-time buyer. Turns out it was built by Morgan Bell. Every time I visit, I wonder what I let slide. What could collapse? What could catch fire with a kid sleeping upstairs? His voice broke just slightly. I can't keep doing this. Would you be willing to give a formal statement? I asked. Not yet, he said quickly. But I'll give you names, dates, details. Maybe it's enough to get things moving without me on the record. It was more than enough. By the time I left the diner, I had 3 full pages of notes and a thumb drive Reeves had kept hidden in his garage, just in case. Between that and what I'd already gathered, I now held the foundation of a case that could bring Chase Morgan to his knees. Karma didn't make me wait long. About a month into the restoration project, I was at the local lumberyard picking up trim and floor planks when I overheard something that stopped me cold. Yeah, another Morgan Bell job, said a contractor I recognized, one of Chase's regular guys. He wants us to use the grade B drywall again but bill the client for premium. Same as always. The clerk raised an eyebrow. Man's gonna end up in trouble one of these days. Not as long as everyone keeps getting paid, the contractor said with a grin. I stepped around the corner. Couldn't help overhearing. You work Morgan Bell jobs often? The guy turned, tense. Who's asking? Frank Delaney, I said. I'm restoring the old Victorian over on Maple. His posture relaxed a little. Oh yeah, I've driven by. Nice bones on that place. You know Vanessa Delaney? Works for Chase. Sure, she's, handles a lot of paperwork, he said carefully. The way he said it told me everything. Vanessa wasn't just complicit, she was neck deep. I left the lumberyard with more than just wood. I left with confirmation, with momentum, and with fire in my veins. I do most of their electrical work, the contractor said, rubbing the back of his neck. Why do you ask? Just curious about how things run over there, I said. My wife works at Morgan Bell. Oh, yeah, who's your wife? Vanessa Delaney. She's Chase Morgan's assistant. The guy's eyes shifted. Oh, right. Yeah, she handles a lot of the paperwork, right? The way he said it carefully, like walking through a minefield, told me everything. Vanessa wasn't just fooling around with Chase Morgan. She was helping him pull the strings. So, this thing with billing for top-shelf materials but using grade B stuff, that happened a lot? He gave a quick, half-hearted shrug. Business as usual with Morgan. Look, I gotta run. And with that, he grabbed his receipt and left. But I'd heard enough. That night, I made another call, this time to Tyler Bishop, a former carpenter turned county building inspector. We'd worked jobs together back in the day. He was sharp, fair, and most importantly, uncorrupted. Tyler, it's Frank. I need a favor. He didn't hesitate. Name it. I need you to look into something. Quietly. Morgan, Bell's material lists what they claim they're using versus what actually ends up in the buildings. There was a long pause on the other end. Then, Frank, I've had my suspicions for years, but Chase Morgan always has Alan Reeves signing off everything. Clean on paper, shady in real life. What if I told you I had real evidence and that Reeves might be ready to talk? Another pause. That would change everything. Why are you involved in this, man? He finally asked. I exhaled through my nose. It's personal, Ty. He got quiet. Vanessa, he said, the word heavy. Yeah. I was at your wedding, man. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just be thorough. I want this airtight. What happened next moved fast. Faster than I ever expected. Tyler took the evidence straight to his supervisor. Then to the state AG's office. Scott Behringer already had a file open on Morgan. They looped him in right away. Within days, an investigation was underway. Quiet, deep, and far from Morgan's reach. While they built their case, I kept my head down, focused on the Victorian, replaced boards, scraped paint, framed rooms. But Morgan must have felt something shift. He had eyes in town, too many drinking buddies on too many zoning boards. And he knew something was coming. One morning, I pulled up to the Victorian and saw the front door hanging open, kicked in, splinters on the porch. Inside, it was worse. Fresh drywall smashed, trim work ripped down, brand new windows shattered, power tools gone. Standing in that wreckage, something inside me went deathly still. This wasn't about Vanessa anymore. This was war. I called the sheriff, filed a report. Then I called Scott. They know, I told him. This was a message. Document everything, Scott said. And Frank, watch your back. If Morgan's going this far, he won't stop at breaking windows. That night, a black SUV cruised past my house. Not once, not twice. 3 times. I sat on the front porch, shotgun across my lap, cup of coffee in hand. Daring them. They didn't stop, but the message was clear. Chase Morgan knew I was involved. Good. Let him know. The next day, I installed cameras around my house and the Victorian. Then I hired 2 off-duty sheriff's deputies to guard the site during working hours. Cost me more than I wanted to spend, but worth every cent. Word spread fast about the vandalism. In a town like ours, people notice. And Chase Morgan made a fatal mistake. He made the community angry. Contractors who'd been silent for years, afraid of losing business or being blackballed, started reaching out to me, offering documents, emails, photos. Some even came with tool belts, volunteering their labor to repair the damage. By the end of the week, the Victorian was a hive of activity. And Chase's cheap threat? It backfired. Hard. The house came back to life. I'd hired 2 skilled framers laid off from another Morgan project. Good men, grateful for work, careful, honest. And they weren't the only ones talking about Delaney restoration. Word was spreading fast. Late one evening, I was at the house measuring for custom moldings when I saw headlights sweep across the yard. For a moment, my gut clenched. Was it Chase? Someone sent to finish the job? But when the door opened, it wasn't a thug. It was Vanessa. She stepped into the hallway slowly, looking around like she didn't recognize the place. "So this is where you've been disappearing to," she said, running her hand along a newly sanded banister. "I had to ask around town to find it." "What are you doing here, Vanessa?" "I wanted to see it. See what was so important that you've barely been home for weeks." She wandered the rooms like she was touring a museum. Her heels echoed across the refinished floorboards. "It's beautiful, Frank. I forgot how good you are with your hands." I didn't answer. I didn't trust the sudden softness in her voice. "Not after everything. Not anymore. I'd forgotten how talented you are," Vanessa said softly, trailing her fingers across the smooth walnut banister I'd just restored. "Thanks," I replied without turning my head. Her sudden praise sounded too rehearsed, too timely. I didn't buy it. "Why are you really here?" I asked, voice even. She turned to face me. Her expression changed. Serious. Calculated. "Chase proposed to me today. It landed like a sucker punch, but I didn't show it. Congratulations." "I haven't said yes," she added quickly. "Why not?" I asked. "Isn't that what all this has been leading to? The affair? The late nights? The distance?" Her eyes narrowed. "It wasn't like that." "It wasn't?" I stepped closer. "It just happened, right? Like the lies, the secrets, those just happened too?" "Frank," she started. "They're choices, Vanessa. Little ones at first, ignoring a touch, returning a flirt, lying about a meeting. And they pile up until you're standing there with someone else's man, justifying it to yourself." "And what about you?" she shot back. "Buying this house without even telling me? Starting a whole business behind my back?" I let out a dry laugh. "I'm not sleeping with the Victorian, Vanessa. I'm building a future, something I can stand on when the dust settles." She stepped toward me, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something expensive, something new. "Maybe we could start over," she said. "I could say no to Chase. We could try counseling. Grace deserves two parents who—" For a moment, I felt it. That old pull. The memory of a better time. Olivia just learning to walk. Grace painting her first birdhouse in my shop. Sunday breakfasts, laughter, years of building a life. But that's all it was. A memory. "I'm not interested in being your backup plan, Vanessa," I said, steady. "Not anymore." Her eyes hardened like ice forming. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "When I'm Mrs. Chase Morgan, living in a $1 million mansion while you're still tracking sawdust into your truck." I looked at her, not blinking. Better honest sawdust than dishonest luxury. She was already halfway to the door when I added, "By the way, does Chase know about the state investigation yet?" She froze. "What investigation?" "The one into Morgan, Bell's fraudulent practices, the fake permits, the switched materials, the rigged inspections, all of it." "You're lying," she whispered. "You're bluffing." But her voice trembled. Her face went pale. "I'm not," I said. "And if you've been filing paperwork for him, you might want to call a lawyer, sooner rather than later." She didn't answer, just turned and left fast. And I stood there in the quiet, surrounded by the honest work of my hands, feeling something I hadn't in months. Peace. Not victory, but certainty. 2 days later, I was having lunch with Tyler Bishop at the usual spot Shaw's Diner when the front bell jingled. Chase Morgan himself walked in. Conversation died around us. He spotted me, laser-locked, and marched across the room like a man with a storm in his chest. "Delaney," he said, voice low and tight. "I think it's time we had a little chat." Tyler started to rise, but I held a hand out to stop him. "It's fine. This was bound to happen." Chase pulled out a chair and sat down uninvited. He looked like hell-wrinkled blazer, sagging eyes, a man used to winning now scrambling for control. Whatever game you're playing, he said through clenched teeth. It ends now. I leaned back, calm. Is that why you sent someone to trash my property? Smash my windows? Rip out the work I'd spent months on? His eyes flicked away, just for a second. Enough. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. Sure you don't, I said, loud enough for the whole diner to hear. Just like you don't know about the AG's investigation, or that your permits are fake, or that your buddy Reeves has been talking. His jaw tensed. I leaned in. How's it feel, Chase? Watching your whole empire rot from the inside out? His face flushed red. You think you're clever. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Oh, but I do, I said coldly. I'm dealing with a fraud who cuts corners, cheats clients, and sleeps with other men's wives. The room went quiet again. Not a plate clinked, not a coffee stirred. He reached out suddenly and grabbed my shirt collar. You son of a... I didn't flinch, didn't move. Go ahead, Chase. Add assault to the list. Right here in front of a dozen witnesses. Hell, maybe you'll even get a mugshot before the indictment drops. For a moment, I thought he might actually swing. But then reason or fear got the better of him. He let go, stood up fast, and hissed, This isn't over. No, I said. It's just beginning. He stormed out. Tyler shook his head slowly, still sitting across from me. Frank, he said, picking up his fork again. I don't know whether to be proud of you or scared of you. Both is fine, I said and went back to my eggs. I smiled coldly. And soon, everyone else will know too. Chase Morgan's hands shot out, gripping the front of my shirt. You son of a... I didn't flinch. Go ahead, Chase. Make a scene. Add assault to your growing list of charges. For a moment, I thought he might actually swing. Then he looked around. The diner had gone dead, quiet, dozens of eyes locked on him. His rage faltered under the weight of public scrutiny. He let go, abruptly straightened his suit, and hissed, This isn't over. You're right about that, I said. It's just beginning. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Slowly, the sounds of conversation returned. Across from me, Tyler exhaled. Damn, Frank, he said. I've never seen anyone stand up to Morgan like that. I just shrugged, but inside, I felt 10 feet tall. Because here's the truth. Bullies only have power when you're afraid of them. And I wasn't afraid of Chase Morgan. Not anymore. The scandal hit the front page 3 weeks later. It wasn't even me who dropped the hammer. Turns out Chase had collected plenty of enemies over the years. One of them finally tipped the right people. An inspection team moved in quietly. What started as substituted materials quickly expanded into falsified permits, illegal labor practices, and creative accounting that caught the eye of the IRS. Riverside Construction collapsed like the rotted frame it was. Saturday morning, I sat at the kitchen table while Vanessa read the front page, her hands trembling. This is a witch hunt, she said. They're targeting him. Richard would never. Save it. I cut her off. You and I both know exactly what kind of man Chase Morgan is. She looked up, and for the first time since this all began, I saw it. Fear. Frank, she whispered. What do you mean? I mean, I know everything. The affair, the fraud, all of it. The paper slid from our fingers to the floor. Frank, I don't... I stood up. I don't want to hear it. Not in front of Grace. Our daughter was curled up on the couch, watching cartoons, oblivious to the fallout happening in the next room. We need to talk about this, Vanessa said sharply. We will, I replied, but not now. I'm going to work. Work meant the Victorian, which, at that point, was almost unrecognizable from what it once was. The porch had been rebuilt, the siding restored. The floors polished until they gleamed like amber in afternoon light. I'd already had 2 serious offers, even though we hadn't finished the kitchen yet. While Morgan's empire was imploding, Delaney Restoration was rising. I'd hired 2 men laid off after Morgan lost city contracts. Good guys, hard workers, honest. They treated the house with reverence, like it had meaning again. Word was spreading. One afternoon, a luxury sedan pulled into the gravel driveway. A sharply dressed man in his 60s stepped out, surveying the house with interest. "Mr. Delaney?" he called. "That's me. I'm Howard Garrison," he said, extending a card. "I'm a developer working on the Westbrook Estate project. 15 historical homes in need of someone who knows what they're doing. I've heard about your work." He stepped inside and slowly moved through the rooms, nodding with appreciation. "You've got an eye," he said. "You keep the soul of the place intact while making it livable." "Thank you, sir. That's exactly what I aim to do. I need someone who values craftsmanship over shortcuts. Someone who isn't," he paused, "Chase Morgan." I met his gaze. "I'd be interested in discussing it." "Good," he said. "Come to my office Monday. Bring your portfolio. If it's anything like this, we'll have business to talk about." That evening, I came home to find Vanessa waiting on the porch. Grace was at a sleepover. She looked like she'd been crying. "They arrested Chase today," she said, voice hoarse. "They're charging him with fraud, tax evasion. They came to the office, took everything, questioned everyone." I unlocked the door in silence. "They questioned me too," she added quickly. "And what did you tell them?" I asked, my voice even. "I told them I didn't know." "You didn't?" "Not about the illegal stuff." I turned and looked at her. "But you knew he was cutting corners. You knew about the substituted materials." She froze. "How did you?" "Everyone knew, Vanessa. Hell, half the town whispered it. The only question was when it would catch up." "It wasn't like that," she said, desperate. "He was just trying to keep the company afloat. It was a tough year." "By lying? By putting families into homes with shoddy wiring and bad plumbing?" My voice rose. "And what was your excuse for cheating on me, huh? Was that part of company survival too?" Her shoulders collapsed. She sank onto the couch, defeated. "You knew," she said softly. "You saw us." "I saw you at the Christmas party," I said. "In his office, hands all over each other." "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "It was a mistake, a stupid mistake." "No," I said. "A mistake is forgetting to fill out a form. A mistake is locking your keys in the car. This was betrayal. Repeated, willful, personal." She looked up, tears welling. "It didn't mean anything. 3 months of sneaking around meant nothing? The late nights, the whispered phone calls, the way you flinched every time I touched you?" Her lips trembled. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I simply stood there, looking down at a woman I no longer recognized. And finally, I said, "You lost me, Vanessa. Not today. Not because of Chase. You lost me the day you stopped being honest." I shook my head. "Don't insult me by lying now." Vanessa's voice dropped to a whisper. "What are you going to do?" "I already did it," I said. "While you were tearing our life apart, I was rebuilding mine." Her eyes snapped up. "It was you. You're the one who reported Chase." "No," I replied. "Turns out I didn't have to. When you build a business on lies, it eventually collapses under its own weight." Then I told her everything. The restoration, the company, the offers I'd received, the upcoming move, the meeting with Howard Garrison. "You've been planning this all along," she accused, voice hardening. "Setting yourself up while you watched Chase and me fall." "I've been building something honest," I said. "Something Grace can be proud of." "You can't take her," she snapped instantly. "I'm not taking her, and I'm not giving her up. We'll work out custody like adults. For her." Her voice grew small. "And us?" "There is no us anymore, Vanessa. You made sure of that." "And?" "The Victorian sold for twice what I'd put into it. I bought a modest 3-bedroom closer to Grace's school and converted the garage into the headquarters of Delaney Restoration. 6 months after walking away from my old life, I had 8 full-time employees, and a contract from Garrison that would keep us booked for the next 2 years. The Westbrook project became our signature. Featured in regional magazines, shared online by real estate influencers, it brought in clients from 2 states over. I wasn't Frank the retired vet with a tool belt anymore. I was Frank Delaney, restoration specialist. And people knew the name for one reason: trust. As for Chase, Morganhi was sentenced to 5 years for fraud and tax evasion. Morgan Bell Construction was dismantled, its assets sold at auction to pay debts. Vanessa? She lost her job and her lover in the same week. One night, well past midnight, I got a call. It was her. Drunk. Broken. He said he loved me, she cried. Said we'd be together after the divorce. But when things got bad, he turned on me. Blamed everything on me. His lawyer even said I was the mastermind. Were you? I asked calmly. Number I. I just did what he told me. Like you always do, I said gently. She fell silent for a moment. I miss you, Frank. I miss our family. I miss what we had too, I admitted. But it's gone, Vanessa. It doesn't have to be. We could try again. For Grace. She deserves 2 parents who respect each other, I said. Who are honest. I am now. I've changed. So have I, she whispered. I sighed. That's the point. We're not the same people anymore. And that's okay. And the final twist came months later. Facing charges as an accessory, Vanessa cut a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for probation. No jail time. What she told prosecutors, it went deeper than anything I'd uncovered. Bribes to local officials, payoffs to zoning board members, inspectors on Morgan's payroll. The scandal spread like wildfire, reaching into the mayor's office, the planning department, even campaign funds. I stayed out of it. I had a business to run, a daughter to raise. And, finally, someone new in my life. Ellie Phillips. Interior designer. We met on the Garrison job, kept things professional at first, but it didn't stay that way. She was strong, grounded, no games, no secrets. And one crisp October afternoon, almost a year after that fateful Christmas party, I stood in the kitchen of a restored 1920s Craftsmanure latest project, and my proudest yet. Grace was at a sleepover. The house was quiet except for the sound of Ellie arranging fresh-cut sunflowers on the kitchen island. Earth to Frank, she said, smiling, waving a hand in front of my face. Where'd you go just now? I smiled, just thinking how much can change in a year. She came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist. For the better, I hope. I turned to face her. Definitely for the better. The doorbell rang. I walked over, expecting the photographer I'd hired for the listing. But it wasn't. Vanessa stood on the porch. She looked tired, weathered. She wore a modest sweater and jeans knot, the designer label stuff Chase used to buy her. I need to talk to you, she said, then noticed Ellie. Oh, I didn't realize you had company. I stepped aside. Vanessa Delaney, I said, calm. This is Ellie Phillips, my partner. Vanessa nodded, her composure slipping just slightly. Ellie held out a hand. Nice to meet you. Vanessa shook it quietly, then looked back at me. I just wanted to say thank you, she said softly, for being a good father, for not hating me. I said nothing, just nodded. There was nothing left to say. And as Vanessa turned and walked away down the steps, I closed the door and exhaled. Ellie looked at me. You okay? I smiled. Yeah, I actually am. Outside, the leaves were turning amber. Inside, the light was warm, steady. And for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. I said, keeping my voice steady, Vanessa, this is Ellie, girlfriend and my business partner. Her smile was tight, brittle. How nice, she said, her tone clipped. Sorry to interrupt, but it's important. It's about Grace. Ellie glanced at me, then squeezed my arm gently. I'll go check the bathroom fixtures upstairs. Take your time. Once she was gone, Vanessa dropped the act. Girlfriend and business partner? That was fast. It's been a year, Vanessa. Her eyes searched mine. She looked around the kitchen. This place is beautiful. Thank you. Is there something you actually needed? I asked. She took a deep breath. Richard's sentencing was finalized yesterday. He got 4 years, eligible for parole in 2. I saw the article. She looked away. What you don't know is, he gave the prosecutors everything. Everyone involved with Morgan Bell. Her voice trembled, including me. I stared at her. She looked smaller than I remembered, uncertain. I'm being charged as an accessory, she said quietly. My lawyer thinks I'll get probation. Maybe a few months if the judge wants to make a point. She paused. Then her voice cracked. Frank, I can't go to jail. What about Grace? The old Metha man who once would have done anything to protect her might have reached out, offered to fix it, carry her load like I used to. But that man had been burned away. What do you want from me, Vanessa? I asked. A character witness. Someone to say I was just following orders, that I'm a good mother, a good person who made a mistake. I almost laughed. After everything, you want me to lie for you? It's not lying, she insisted. I am a good mother, and I did make a mistake, the biggest one of my life. Through the kitchen window, I could see Ellie in the backyard, measuring the patio space, already visualizing furniture and planters. That view, the new life, built on truth and strength, was all I needed. I can't do that, I said. I won't lie for you. That's what got you into this mess in the first place. Lies. Built on lies. She clenched her fists. You want me to go to prison? The mother of your child? I don't want anything bad for you, Vanessa, I said gently. But your choices have consequences. Mine did too. The difference is, I chose to rebuild. You chose to keep hiding. Her expression twisted. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me fall while you play house with your new girlfriend. I'm not enjoying any of it, I said, calm. But I'm not responsible for your pain either. You are. She stepped back, hands shaking. You'll regret this. When Grace asks why her mother went to jail, what are you going to tell her? The truth, I said. Always the truth. After she left, Ellie came back inside. Everything okay? She asked. I pulled her close. It will be. In the end. Vanessa didn't go to jail. Her cooperation earned her probation and community service. Richard, from his prison cell, tried to pin blame on Herbert. No one believed him anymore. 6 months later, the county announced a full audit of every Morgan Bell home built in the past 10 years. And Delaney Restoration was one of 5 firms contracted to do the inspections and repairs. The irony wasn't lost on me walking through homes Chase Morgan built, fixing his shortcuts, making things safe again. It wasn't just business. It was justice. It was redemption. One evening, as I crawled under a foundation with a flashlight in hand, the homeowner, a young dad with 2 little boys, asked me, "How'd you know Morgan was a fraud?" I thought about Vanessa, the Christmas party, that one choice that changed everything. Let's just say, I told him, I learned the hard way that some things aren't built to last, but with the right materials and honest work, almost anything can be restored. The hardest part? Explaining it all to Grace. Why Mom wasn't around as much. Why we didn't live together anymore. I never trashed Vanessa in front of her, but I didn't hide the truth either. Sometimes, I told her one night as I tucked her into bed, grown-ups make mistakes, big ones, that hurt people they love, but what matters most is what they do next. Is that what Mommy did? She asked. Made the mistake worse? I chose my words carefully. Your mom got caught up in something bad, and she didn't know how to get out, but she's trying now. What about you? Did you make mistakes too? I did, I said. I wasn't always the best husband, or even the best dad, but I'm trying to be better every day. She nodded and threw her arms around my neck. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Pumpkin. More than anything. Howard Garrison's project was completed ahead of schedule, under budget, and to universal praise. We were featured in Southern Living. Clients came from Georgia, Tennessee, even the Carolinas coastal towns. Delaney Restoration had become a name people trusted. Not because we were flashy, but because we were honest. Ellie and I eventually moved in together. She brought light into my life when I thought all I had left was grit and sawdust. We talked about marriage sometimes. No rush. We were building something strong, something real. Vanessa found a quiet job doing accounting at a local firm. The shine was gone, but she seemed steadier. We co-parented Grace as best we could, politely, civilly. But the trust, that was gone, and we both knew it. As for Chase, he served 3 years, got out, disappeared to another state. Word was, he worked as a site manager now. From empire to employee. A dramatic fall. One spring afternoon, I stood on the porch of our new home, coffee in hand, watching Ellie and Grace planting daffodils in the garden. And I thought about how far I'd come. Betrayal, pain, anger. Then, rebuilding. Not for revenge, but because I refused to be broken. Vanessa once said that revenge tasted sweeter than love. She was right. Just not in the way she meant it. Because the best revenge isn't destroying someone else. It's refusing to be destroyed. It's rising higher than they ever imagined. It's building a life worth living. And doing it with your own 2 hands.